Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Couple of Nukes. As always, I'm your host, Mr. Whiskey, and recently I've been traveling for about 30 hours a week on the road, doing different podcasting stuff, entrepreneur stuff, just life stuff, supporting some of the local artists and talent in different areas around Georgia and Florida, and going up to Virginia for other stuff to help honor those who were killed in action in the special forces. So lots of traveling and it's catching up to me. So you can hear I'm quite sick, but luckily today's guest has a lovely voice and is known for her voice and for using her voice and acting and other stuff. So this works out perfectly. We've got a perfect balance now. So ladies and gentlemen, here with Hilary Powers to talk about again, so important to know that addiction, like I've talked about on the show before, with whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, whether it's depression or suicidal ideation, it does not discriminate. No matter who you are, how successful you are, how happy you seem, what skin color you are, what gender you are, whatever it is, it's something that can happen to any of us and all of us. And we all have that mindset, oh, no, this would never happen to me. And we need to realize that we are susceptible to these things. And sometimes what seems like our success actually makes us more likely to fall into that. So, Ms. Powers, great to have you here. And could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, you guys. Thank you so much for the introduction. Yeah, I'm a pistol, which is a good thing. My name is Hilary Momberger-Powers. I use my grandmother's last name, just FYI, because I loved her and she was a powerful woman. And so I took that on my persona. But my name is, like I said, my original name is Hilary Momberger. I was lucky enough as a small child and unfortunate enough to be the voice of Sally and Charlie Brown and Peanuts. So that's where the voice comes in. It was my first interview at 5 years old. I had no idea what I was doing. I had a stage mother. So she wanted to go to Hollywood and be famous and vicariously live through her children. And unfortunately, my mother suffered like so many other people have, and myself, with alcoholism. She was a model, so she had to be very skinny. So back in the days, they would give these little white pills with the X on it. They were the original speed. And my mother lived on that, Doritos and whiskey and Coke. And so that was her diet. So I was exposed at a very young age to a lot of isms. And I'm very candid. I talk about it. I joke and I say, you can't kill that woman. She's already dead. So talk
Mm,
amongst yourself. I don't care what you say about me. I have been redeemed. I am a new character and mostly do not reference my old character. Occasionally it does when I don't take care of myself. When I'm too tired, a little angry, lonely, tired, I can slip back into my old character, but I have a source I go to, which I call God, and I have a community which holds me accountable. And so, anyway, so about my background, I grew up in California. I'm a Southern California girl, no longer there. And I grew up in this crazy alcoholic family with 7 children. My mother didn't want children, but she loved being pregnant. When you have a narcissist for a mother, you want everyone to tell you how incredible you are because of
yeah.
your children. And so there was a lot of stuff. I really appreciate your service, by the way. I want to commend you for that and say thank you for all that you're doing for the vets and for the people that have lost because of our traumatic world we live in. And I appreciate that. I I feel like it's my responsibility to be of service and to help people through trauma too, because I have been blessed with the ability to go forth.
Right.
So I grew up in this ecosystem, I say that lightly, that was filled with a lot of fear. There was a lot of my mother held us to very high standards. She was an English teacher from Vassar. And so there was a perfection that I could never reach. And when you're a small child and you're living under this domain of everything's got to be perfect, you got to look good, you got to act good, you got to make money, or As my mother used to say, your brothers and sisters are going to starve. What a great thing to tell a 6-year-old. Oh my God. So took on the responsibility that I have to be perfect. And I think we all, in a family dynamic, everybody picks a role. And
Yeah.
each role either enhances you or degrades you. And for myself, my perfectionism, which is a part of trauma, and I talk a lot about trauma, that you don't have to go in a bombing zone to have a trauma, a PTSD. You don't have to get hit by a car. You can be in a family dynamic where you're not seen and heard unless you're perfect. That is a trauma response. So you become this character based on what you think and these absent feelings of who you are. I don't know if that makes sense. But so I grew up in this family where I had to be really perfect and I had to act good, smile, look cute, all these things. Otherwise, A, my brothers and sisters were going to starve, or I was not going to get the little teeny sliver of love that my narcissist mother might give me, maybe, if I'm a good little girl. So when you grow up around a lot of fear, that's a my trauma response is either I become a people pleaser, a controller, or a loner. Those are only the three responses I know how to have.
Mm.
So I took on the people pleaser. When I got older, I took on the loner. I was going to do whatever I want and hide out in my addiction, and I don't need you, and I hate you, and don't mess with me, and I'm good. And then later, went into the controlling where everything had to be okay for me to feel safe. That's a trauma response. And I don't even know that I'm priming myself. It's like when you go to into the service, you have boot camp. I'm in serious boot camp growing up. It's like
Right.
you're bombing zone. So all I know is everything has to be perfect. I got to get this. I got to do this. And trying to be a child and just learn and live and have fun when you're under this cloak of just fear. In my program, which I'm a member of, a 12-step program and have been for many, 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 but all of them, I've dabbled in all of them because I'm an addict. May it be men, may it be food, may it be sex, may it be shopping, it doesn't matter. When I don't want to feel, I go outside of myself to be fixed because I don't know how to deal with these scary feelings that are inside of me. And when I was raised, I'll speak in I statements, in this system where you can't feel because it's not profitable, or you can't feel because you're going to be attacked. Because trauma is about living or dying, right, left, good, bad, fat, skinny, black, white. There's a trauma response, that duality that's in a constant. It's like the volume's turned up to 100. So I grew up in this system where I did really good as a child, and I was a good little girl. And then I realized that my mother and father, there was fighting, there was violence, there was alcoholism, there was police, and there was a lot of abuse going on. There was a lot of hitting, and I would take it until one day I stopped and I hit my mother back and I went to juvenile hall for assault and battery. Now, this is like all of a sudden here I am going, wait a minute. My message was, you can't defend yourself. If you defend yourself, you're in trouble. Take the abuse. There's my message. I'm not worthy. I'm
Yeah.
not enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not enough. So I talk about I'm no longer leading with my wound is my motto. And I do a lot of speaking and I coach a lot of women and even men, but I about not leading with that wound. That's my original core wound is I'm terrified and I'm not enough. So everything in my life, it's deep, deep in my basement, my unconscious. I'm going to pick everything that resembles that. If I think I'm not enough, I'm going to pick people below me. I'm going to pick people who abuse me. I'm going to pick jobs that don't make me feel good. I'm going to pick family members to hang out with. I'm going to pick substances to abuse because it's reflecting this core belief of I'm terrified I'm going to die if I don't fill that void, that hole. I got to fix it. I got to fix it. There's my controller. So I leave juvenile hall and I live in a foster home and I live on the streets at 15 years old. Here is this cartoon character and this actress. I had done over 100 commercials. I was on TV constantly as a child. And when people would say, "Is that you?" I'd say, "No," because I was ashamed. I don't want to be different. I want to be a kid.
Mm.
So I ended up living on the streets and doing what girls do. And I won't go into detail. I'm not ashamed of it anymore. It's just, it was a necessary. I was so disassociated from anything. I was in trauma. Survive. I got to do whatever I need to do. I got involved with people. I did lots of drugs. When people say that I got loaded and that ease and comfort, I wasn't doing it to get the ease and comfort. I was so shut down way before. I did it to get out of here. I didn't believe in God. I thought God was punishing me. Why was I in this family? I look good on the outside. That's the illusion of being a pretty girl and you thinking she's got it made. It's torturous because people expect things from you. And I couldn't see myself. I would look in the mirror and I'd say, "I hate you. You're fat. You're ugly. You're not a," all these, that's my deep in the basement voices and my trauma responses. I was parroting everything I thought I heard. I didn't really hear a lot of those things. My interpretation, my mind was so fractured and hurt that I interpreted every constructive criticism as an insult and an attack and a reflection of who I was. So this is this is my operating system I'm using. I need to get new downloads. And thank you, Lord, I've been downloaded over and over and over with some new operating systems. His, not mine. So I ended up reacting, responding, reacting. I wasn't living. I was just in a reactive spot. And I understand when you talk about in war, I we all have a simulation of war. It's a different type of war, but I'm ready for Freddy all day long. I'm ready for Freddy. Okay, bring it. Come on. And the more you live in that, the harder you get, and the more shut down you get, and the more fragmented you get. And I was very fragmented. By the time I was 21 years old, I had overdosed. I had been raped 3 times. I had lived in 60 places. I had dropped out of high school. I went to 9 high schools. I lied to get into a nursing college because I got to figure it out. We're smart. Trauma people get smart because they got to figure it out. But once you learn how to stabilize, which is what I talk about and I share, is how to do some self-stabilization so you can re-enter this world, which seems terrifying. Like it's scary right now if I'm in my trauma. But if I'm in my heart is where I have a belief that God lives and there's calmness and I feel stabilized and I feel okay, I know it's going to be okay. And that's what I got loaded to do, was to either take me out or make it all okay. And I'm a recovering bulimic. I have many years abstinent off that. I was an overeater. I spent money. I was addicted to sex. Whatever. And I wasn't really doing it because I liked it. I was doing it because it stuffed my terror. It quieted those thoughts. It shut that fear driven. I was so driven by so many different types of fears. And today, when I come up with those fears, it's not that I tell that I share that I'm a Cadillac. I came in to this life in pristine condition. It got beat up. I lost my tires, my oil, my carburetor busted, my alternator went out, all the windows got busted out, the rag roof is now ragged out. And, you know, I'm never going to be a Porsche, ever. And what happens is when I live outside of myself, I want to be a Porsche. So I'm never going to be enough because I'm trying to be a Porsche. I'm trying to be a Porsche. So, what I have learned to do with the help of a community, with the help of God, which learning how to stabilize, is I have just cleaned up this Cadillac, and sometimes I need an oil change, and sometimes I need new tires, and sometimes, but I have become the best Cadillac I possibly can be. I'm trying to get back to my original state, which is pure. And how do I get there? I go to a power other than Hillary, which I call God. So I ended up getting sober at 21 years old, and I stayed sober for a long time. And I got back into the film industry slowly. I had a woman who mentored me who said, if you keep living out you're in your past, you're going to keep making it in your present. So you gotta stop driving through the rear view mirror, girl. You got to start focusing on what's in front of you. And so I learned some things along the way. I was lucky enough, I worked at a hospital when I was 22 years old, who was run by John Bradshaw, and I got involved with a therapist who introduced me to myself and introduced me to the real self along with my program. And I found out that I was killing the wrong person. And I found out that I didn't deserve to die, I deserved to be reborn. And how I did that was letting go of all my old ideas, which is, I didn't, in my program, we talk about principles. And principle is a truth that I live by. I live by all these principles. You're not enough. You're from a white trash family. You'll never get anywhere. You'll never get married. No one will love you. Those are truths I'm living by. And I learned to uncover them and look at where they originated and give them back. Like a gift, you don't have to take it. That was a gift. My mother gave me all her fears. I have, in over time, given it back to her. Even though she's not here, like I said, she suffered from alcoholism, not wasm ism, and it killed her to the end. She died homeless downtown LA in 2001.
Wow.
Yeah. We all get chances in life, and for some reasons we take them and some reasons we don't. I like to think that the whole picture has been designed from the beginning, and it's just what I'm experiencing in this big movie called life. So, I want to talk about trauma responses. So, I did talk about the triangle of trauma, which is self-preservation, ready for Freddy, live and die, and then the three ways: you're the controller, people pleaser, or the loner. Loner is like, I don't need you. I'm gonna get high. Don't tell me what to do. It's my life. That's a loner response. I can't talk to anybody. They don't understand. So I can get into my loner response. Well, so how I have learned over the years to get out of my live or die, win or lose, because that's all I'm feeling. Like get up in the morning and it's like, if I'm gonna go to my old idea, which is my wounded side, I'm going to lead with my wound today. If I think that, here I go, oh, another day, that's a wound that says I'm going to die. So either I give up throughout the whole day, because that's my leading thought, or if I can go to my scar, meaning I've healed that side of me and go, okay, I'm a little tired this morning, but I'm going to rally up. Like you said, I don't feel well today, but I'm okay. I'm going to rally up. Your old response would say, I don't want to do this. Forget it. I'm over it. I'm canceling everything. There's a trauma response. Hide, get away. It's not going to work. So in my ideal of how the pyramid of recovery works is on the bottom level, I need to stabilize. And what does that mean? In order for me to feel safe, I need to take care of my seeing, tasting, touching, hearing, smelling, all my senses. In order for me to get to my God center, which is my sixth sense. So little things like, have I eaten? Have I gotten enough sleep? Were you able to, are you angry? Do you need to talk about it? Do I need to write about it? Do I need to go out into the field and scream every nasty word and call everybody whatever they need so I can get rid of it? So I need to stabilize. And once I get into a stable place, then I can receive. Because when you're in trauma, you're like this. I got this. I don't need you. I got it. Don't tell me. We're in a reactive. We're angry. It's normal anger. Or we run away. Or we try to fix everything. What can I do? Do you love me? Do you love me now? Do you love me now? Do you love me now? Those are all trauma responses. So my responsibility for me, so I can be a maximum service to you, is stabilize. And that first layer, once I can breathe slower, that's a way to stabilize. Like I'll take a 2 minute breath, just not that amps me out. I just, I'm taking my power back. Meaning when I'm in trauma, I'm powered by my fear. Live, die, good, bad, bad, ugly, bad, ugly, skinny, money, poor, hate you, too much. That's all fear driven. So once I can get back to self, which is deep, I get into that heart mind, which is so much smarter than this mind. Trust me, this is so limited. Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh my God, I've got like 7 thoughts and I'm not going to use them all today. And then I'm like, I'm done. It's not going to work. I hate my life. I'm a failure. That's my self mind, self-talking mind. So what I end up doing is so once I get stabilized, then I have a sense of belonging. I feel like I'm whole again. Like all of a sudden I start noticing other people in my life. Hello. Hey, how are you? I've seen you around. And I start opening up my community. Now I feel a sense of belonging in this world just by stabilizing. And sometimes we need a mentor or a coach to help us get into a habitual habit because it's a habit. I've been in the habit of, I'm never going to make it, which is an underlining tone for most of our world today. And so we push even harder and we keep bumping into things. It's like we're rushing through a China shop. We're going to break everything. And then we're going to blame you because I don't want to take responsibility. So we live in this victimism mode of I don't want to take responsibility because what if it doesn't work? Well, when you start to stabilize, you start to feel that, wow, if I can help myself feel better, maybe I'm responsible for making my life worse. If there's got to be that mirroring side. So I stabilize, I get this sense of belonging, and then I start getting some self-esteem, some self-worth. I start seeing self differently. I start thinking, I mean, you know what? I did a good job today. I showed up. I got to work on time. Like, whoa, I didn't yell at my husband today. I didn't yell at my wife today. I fed my kids. My kids said they love me today. That's like a huge feat. Because when you're in trauma, no one wants to be around you. You're scary. So we start getting this self-esteem and this self-worth, and I start getting a sense of self, the self that was created in the first place that God did. So I start being in gratitude. I start feeling good. I start liking people more. And now I get to be productive. So what do? I get a job. I show up on time. I start making goals. I start saying I'm going to go on these podcasts and how can I be of service, God? What can I do? How can I add to the world instead of taking? Like, how can I share this incredible gift that you've given me? I owe my God. And I owe the world for all the grief that I gotten. I've been able to look at it in a different perspective and I can share that with another human being. How lucky I am. Wow. Am I rich? That's wisdom. That's richness. I always thought that everything was on the outside of myself. Like when I get that car, that house, that guy, that doesn't fill my soul. My soul connects with the simplest things, like richness of how can I be of service. There's nothing like as seeing somebody go, dude, you helped me so much. Like talking about getting high. That's the ease and comfort that I've always wanted. And by trying to get loaded and doing all these addictive things, I really am trying to just get that. I have this God gaping hole that I need something other than me to fill. And I've learned how to do that through prayer and meditation. Prayer is like I'm having a conversation with this dude I don't even understand. And I constantly will be in wonder. Once I find him, I don't look anymore. So I want to keep searching. So I pray to this power I don't even get. And I say, please, can you be with me now? Can you protect me from my thoughts? They're hurting me because my thoughts are what get me, not the world. It's my perception of the world that's killing me. Can you help me, God? Can you help me today? And then all of a sudden I see a bird fly by and I go, oh my God, that was Cardinal. Whoa, I've not seen that. And I start seeing these little these kids bit, these God shot, these God winks, whatever you want to call it. And I start feeling like I belong in the world. I start liking myself. I start being productive. And as a result of going up that pyramid, the top is being of service. How can I give this back? Because it's got to keep going. It's like a river or a stream. The reason why the beavers are there, they want to stop the eco, but the truth of the matter is we need to keep it flowing. So in order for me to keep it flowing, I gotta keep giving and giving. It's not about getting. I get everything in return and then I don't even want it. I'm like, I give stuff away all the time. I'm like, do you want do you want this? Do you want the girls I work with constantly get stuff. They're like, why do you do it? Because it's not that important to me. You're important to me. Like, wow. Thank you, God. That's a God wink. So my world today is I'm really grateful. I've written a few books that I'm AKA looking for a publisher, by the way. Peanuts to Percocet, Notes on a Hollywood Childhood. And I've written a couple of children's books with my brother who passed away about just being okay with being who you are, which is kind of important in our world today. Yeah. And so trauma I've had plenty. My father killed himself. My mother died homeless. My brother died of AIDS. My sister an overdose. Life is filled with events. If I allow myself to be eaten by it, I'm not a victim. I volunteer for every pain that I stay in. I mean, pain's inevitable, suffering, that's on you, buddy. And so if I look at my cycling, pain cycling, it keeps going and going and going. It's going to keep feeding off itself. So does when I'm on the other side of loving and giving, it keeps feeding off itself. So I have been given the power of choice. I have been given free will. I get to make a choice. So I get to listen to other podcasts. I get to hear different information to feel, does that resonate with me? Does that feel good? And once I can say, yes, it does, I can receive it and then I get to give it away. Wow, how lucky am I? I'm so rich, I get to give it away. So, yeah, that's kind of a big nutshell. If you want to ask me questions, I would love to.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm scared to ask a question after that long of an answer. So we'll see. But I relate to a lot of what you said. I remembered that I had a whole little comedic intro set up about how today's guest, I tried playing football with her and she pulled it away. I was gonna do a whole build up and then because I was sick, I totally forgot what I was gonna say. But one thing you said that I think a lot of us in the society right now, we don't look long term at the long term effects of what we're going to do. So when you talked about your mother's diet, what I thought of was how many people from my generation and even the generation below me are going to say to their children and on podcasts that they're guesting on, yeah, my mother was an OO patient, Ozempic obsessed, and she spent so much of her time just trying to forcibly losing weight and abusing Ozempic. It's interesting you talk about a little white pill with an X on it, and
Yeah.
how many more of those and different variations do we have nowadays? And what are our grandchildren and children going to say about us from this generation who use those? So that's what I was thinking of. And then you said something so important that has definitely been prominent in my life, and I'm sure a lot of people's lives. The narcissistic parents
Mm,
living through their parents and then also taking such pride and joy off of it. So at some point in my life, I realized that my parents, it wasn't like a, hey, son, we want the best for you. It was like the reason I always had to take the highest position, the highest job, whatever it was that it fed their egos. And I have talked about this in a couple episodes where I said the saddest part for me is that my parents had no social groups, no friends or family to brag to. Yet
mm,
they wanted this. And I know my father has we've gone into some biblical arguments because he took scripture out of context to try and say that because his children are good, therefore he is good.
mm,
And I, luckily being a preacher and having read the whole Bible, I brought the context to the conversation and proved what he was saying was wrong. But a
mm,
lot of the time he would basically justify his life as an alcoholic and a drug abuser and basically now contributes nothing to society. He says, well, I made three kids and those kids are doing amazing things. All three of those kids were in the military and served people. All three of those kids are now doing service-oriented jobs, whether it's, he doesn't know exactly what I do, but he knows that I do a lot of work in this kind of field, right? So he always every time he does something bad, he says, "Well, I have good kids though, so that's all that matters."
God
And
bless
it's
him.
it's
Good.
yeah, I mean, I'm glad that his kids turned out good despite his abuse and alcoholism and drug abuse, but it doesn't justify his behavior. And I remember that was the whole thing. Like when the Air Force pulled the rug from underneath my feet, right? I was going for photojournalism, mass communications, and just a few days before I ship out, oh, actually, no, you're going to be a cryptolinguist and you're
Mm,
going to learn another language and you're going to be a translator and do spy stuff and all these other jobs, right? And I said, I don't want to do that. I did not want to do that. And I looked at other jobs in the Air Force and I was talking to my parents. I said, look, I really don't want to do this cryptolinguist job, but if I'm still am going to go into the Air Force, they have other jobs. I said they've got military version of everything. Pest control, mailman, store clerk, like all these stuff that you wouldn't think are military, right? They've got their own little cities to run, so to speak. So you need
mm,
all those positions filled. And I just remember the reaction was no son of mine is going to do a basic job in the military. You have to take that number one job that's cryptolinguist. Why? At the
mm,
end of the day, the pay and the benefits are all relatively the same. It's based off of rank, not your
mm,
job, right?
mhm.
I mean, the mailman, I always use this example. The mailman at Nuke school made more money than the Nukes in training because he was higher ranking and he had a pretty easy job. So my point is my parents were so focused on the title and their son being a cryptolinguist. And I mean, I didn't want to join the Navy. My mom and my dad, when I was 17, made me sign paperwork and forced me in.
Mm,
And what's so interesting about that is I remember I came back home and my parents knew I hated the Navy at the time. There was a time where I loved it and then they ruined that as well. I come home and there's all these flags, there's pictures of me in uniform, there's all these Navy flags in the front yard. And I said, "What are you doing? I don't like this. This isn't my identity. Stop like making us a Navy family. Like you forced me into the Navy and I didn't want to do it." And I remember it was just, but you're a Navy sailor. And it was all about their pride. And both my parents are narcissists. And it's always been about that. We were always bragging points rather than what was best for us. So I really resonated with what you said about that. And then obviously I've also been through the same. I just had a whole episode of my show about people pleasing and the way my parents
mhm,
affected people pleasing, the relationships I ended up in as a result.
mhm,
And what you brought to the conversation today that a lot of people haven't talked about on my show was the loner part. I think I really appreciated what you said there. I think that's really, really important. We focus so much on the people pleasing, on the perfectionism, and we don't look at that loner mentality
mhm,
enough. So I really resonated with all of that. And then you talked about your addiction and getting out. And one thing I want you to do, I usually save it till the end, but do you have a Bible quote in particular that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, Romans 8:31, if God is for me, who can be against me? That has saved my life. I am forgiven, meaning you touched on a lot of stuff, and I'm so sorry about your parents, but I have to look at the pony and the horse shit is my saying. There's a pony. If there's horse shit, there's a pony somewhere.
Right,
So when I had gone, I got loaded again after many years, and I had a great guy who said to me, "Your main problem is you cannot forgive your mother." Because I wear anger and resentment and judgment, and I'm the hierarchy, I'm the queen, I'm off with your head. The sentence never fits the crime. Someone says, "Are you tired?" You're like, "Get out of here, you don't leave me." You're like,
right.
or all of a sudden people disappear on us. There's our loner. We disappear. My mother used to say, "Hillary and her famous disappearing acts." Oh yeah, I know how to get out. But there's a soul sickness. We are all just, our souls are so sickened, meaning they're not healthy right now. And we keep thinking that my health is outside of myself. And it's really all in you. Like God is within all of us. It's up to me to celebrate that. So I couldn't get past I hated my mother, the narcissist.
Right,
Was the reason why I was failing. It's her fault. Remember, I'm a victim. I got to be a victim because it's the only identity I'm identifying with it. You were a victim of your parents, always going, "Oh my God, here's my boy," and you're like, "Screw you! I don't want to be that person." You are a victim. We choose to be a victim. And I couldn't get past how can I thank my mother for giving me these things? Like I was so angry. So I was making no money. I couldn't make a living. I was in my 30s, and what was I, end of my 30s. I was struggling. It was like, God, what happened to this bright girl that had everything up against? And now I'm like, I can't even like pay rent. And I couldn't figure it out. And thank God, this friend of mine said, until you forgive your mom, you're never going to get anywhere. And I didn't realize the power of forgiveness. Like God forgave me for all the sins that I have done. Sins are what? Falling from the mark. I was given everything and I didn't hit the mark. Instead of going all the way, I cheated. Instead of being faithful, I cheated. Instead of all these characteristics, I fell from God loved me anyway. Like I'm still living, I still get a second chance. Every time I wake up, God gave me another chance. Awesome. I'm going to make this today matter. And so I was living in Santa Monica and at the time in California, and I had written this huge inventory all on my mother. I hated her so much. She took the money, all the money I made. She made me homeless. She beat me. She wouldn't feed us. I mean, I got story after story after, and I was living off this anger and this pain and this resentment and this fear. Like, how dare my parents treat me like that? Don't they know who I think I am? And so I wrote all this stuff down that my mother had done to me. And then I wrote down the character I became in retaliation. Wow, I had to look at me. And I thought to myself, my mother didn't want to be a narcissist. Your mom didn't want to be a narcissist. They didn't go to God and say, "Yeah, make me a narcissist so I can abuse my kids and use them to satisfy my fat, unsatisfiable ego because I don't believe in you, God." Wow, that's a big sentence right there. So my
right.
mother did all those things. She didn't want to leave us. My mother would leave us months at a time without food while they'd go out on a gambling binge. My
Wow.
mother married the guy who brought crystal meth into California in 1973 because he was exciting to her. So I grew up in Breaking Bad and white trash and the big Winnebago in front of the house and the DEA coming, the feds coming, and the house being seized from being this. And I hated my mother. I hated her. I made her responsible for me not graduating from high school, from not getting an education. I put everything on her. And I wondered why I was so unhappy. So I wrote all this stuff down. And all of a sudden, I started seeing, wait, mom, when I get scared, I run. When I get angry, I yell and I hurt people and I break people's arms and I get arrested for robbery and I get arrested for stealing cars. And I look at who I became. And all of a sudden, I started seeing my mother as my equal. She suffered from an ism just like I do. And so I started gaining empathy. Now, this is a crazy little God wink story. So in California, where there used to be California, it's now burned all gone. All these places I'm talking about are disintegrated. That last fire. I had to go underneath Pacific Coast Highway to get to the other side to the ocean. And I brought this notebook where I had written page after page, and I read it to God and to my mother. And I talked about my mom understanding that she didn't want to hurt me. She didn't want to be a narcissist. She didn't want to take money from me. She was in her disease. And I started to see her as a human being and see her as sick and see her as she never got to find God. She never got to surrender. She never got to where I'm at. And I started to care for my mother. And I sat there about an hour and a half sitting on the sand next to the ocean, reading this, and I could feel a cloak of anger and resentment and this heaviness lift. And I thought, oh, this is what it means by letting it go. Wow. And I stood up and I said, all right, I think I'm done. Thank you, God. And I love you, Mom. My mother created me and helped me be resilient. She's taught me how to be this little firecracker. If she would have enabled me and been a helicopter mom, I wouldn't be who I am. And I'm so grateful for the woman that God created me in the first place. And so I got up and I grabbed my backpack and I said, thank you, God. And I turned around, and but for the grace of God, strike me dead. In the time that I had walked underneath the tunnel into the beach and read solo by myself, someone had spray painted on a wall into the tunnel that said, it's never too late to have a happy childhood. And I get chills.
Yeah.
My perception, that moment in time, because I was willing to suspend my belief and my anger and my resentment and open my mind up to receive a different perception, that I had a great childhood. Thank you, Mom, for being such a crazy woman. Thank you, Mom, for living vicariously through me, because she's showing me that I got some talent, that she wanted to suck all the life out of me because she's telling me I got a lot of life. Your parents were honoring you because you're worthy of being honored. How lucky are you? Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Mom. They were living through you because they didn't even know that they had the potential to. They gave up on themselves. Wow. So I started seeing my family life differently. And that moment, my income quadrupled. My relationships changed. I repelled people who were hurting me, like the guys that would try to abuse me. I was no longer attracting them because I started changing from the inside out. This is my movie. My movie's not out there. Whatever I'm feeling, thinking, and is going to project all of a sudden because I felt forgiveness for my mother. And today I love my mother. Thank you, Mom. I'm so grateful she hurt me so much because she really showed me my worth.
Yeah, and I want to share one of the Bible quotes I share most frequently is from Genesis 50, verse 20, and it says, to give a little context, it's when Joseph is talking with his brothers who find him in Egypt. They realize it's him, and so they fear for their lives because they had thrown him in the well. But he says, you intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to
Mm.
accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. And that's a
Oh
quote
man,
I share
praise God, that's a
very
great one.
often.
Oh yeah,
A lot of
it give me
people,
chokes me up. That's a good one.
yeah, I've always really appreciated that one. Again, because I know that where I am now and all the people I serve are a result of that. And at the time of this recording, it's not out yet, but book two of the Survival to Thrival series is forgiveness, and my contributing chapter, it's a bunch of different authors. My contributing chapter to that was about my father and me and how I was able to forgive him, the peace that came with that, but how because of his alcoholism and his drug abuse, that forgiveness was with boundaries, but those
Mhm.
boundaries are not ones made of resentment and holding on to the past, but it's
Mhm.
also not forgetting. It's a balance of caution and love and making sure that the past doesn't intertwine in the present or the future in a way that causes sin or harm, but keeps everyone happy and safe. So there is a
Um,
lot of power in it, and the relief spiritually, emotionally, and just even physically, I felt such a relief when I was able to forgive him. And so I agree as well. And I think it's important. We can't change the past, so optimizing it and cultivating life lessons from it to help others is our greatest purpose other than serving and glorifying God. And so
mhm.
everything I do is a result of that. And I know that I always said that God didn't intend for me to be a nuclear operator, but he needed me to go through the nuke school
Oh
to meet
yeah.
people in certain events that led to everything I do nowadays, which is not where I would have ever expected it
Oh
to
yeah.
be birthed from, but it's beautiful. And like you said, you mentioned very early on in the episode that the greatest high is when someone reaches out and says, "Hey, this changed my life," whether it was one of your speaking gigs or a podcast episode.
Oh my,
Same
it's
with
like,
me. I've had people reach out. And what's interesting is actually the episode where the guest reached out to me was something you touched upon, which was the association of pretty privilege means life is easy and guaranteed isn't always true.
yeah.
The guest who had, or not the guest, the person who listened to the episode, who reached out to the guest who reached out to me, had shared that she felt heard for the first time because the episode was about how women who are skinny are often just told, "You're beautiful, you're healthy, get over it." And a lot of them struggle with eating disorders or other health issues,
Yeah.
and they just don't get that kind of attention because so much attention is on the fat is beautiful and losing weight and all these other different health
Yeah.
categories. And she said people always overlooked me because I was skinny, so therefore it was like, be quiet, you should be happy that you're skinny because that means you're beautiful, when that didn't make everything in life better. So like you said about that pretty privilege and, oh, if she's pretty her life is easy, that was actually that episode where
Mhm.
someone reached out and said that like changed my life. So I think it's so important what you and I do and all the podcasters who are out there trying to serve people and make a good message. So
We're starving. We're a starving community. We're just starving and
yeah.
we're thirsty. If I don't stay thirsty for God and for healing, I'm going to get thirsty for the drink. If I don't stay
Mm,
starving for God and healing, I'm going to get hungry for food. I'm going to get hungry for money. I'm going to get hungry for sex. I need to fill that hole with something other than this. And
yeah.
I love when you talked about boundaries. Boundaries, children need rules. Why? They feel safe. What's my bottom line? Safety. So when I say, I love you, but I no longer am going to communicate with you, I'm creating a safety space for me. I don't need to announce it. I'm not two. I'm doing it so I can give myself some stabilization. And now I no longer live in my trauma. So there's hope. And the eating the Ozempic, oh my God, it's crazy. It's so scary right now. That's just I want to get fixed now, now, now. We live in a system where it's now. Swipe, you said 12 seconds attention
Yeah, the
span.
instant gratitude and not wanting the hard work.
Oh
And
no.
it's so I've had episodes on people faking mental illnesses or other medical conditions to justify laziness to get out of work. And that's a whole tangent on its own. But what I want to ask before we end here is what would be your main message to all the struggling addicts out there, if they're listening to this, if they're in addiction, just recovering from addiction, or fighting with temptation, what would be your message to them?
In the Sermon on the Mount, it talks about that no, the only way to surrender is through prayer. And that's why when we go, God, help me, that's an act of surrender. But I can't produce the surrender because if I'm producing it, it's my ego, and my ego is going to go, okay, got it. Good. I'm good now. I'm good. I stayed sober for 14 days. I'm good. I would say keep asking God to help you surrender instead of saying, I got this. God, please help me surrender. Help me surrender. Because once you hit that bottom, which is the best place because you can only look up from there, that's when your whole life begins. When I look up, I see so many possibilities. So if you're struggling right now, ask God to help you surrender. And when you hit that bottom, thank you, God. Thank you. I always say to the girls when they say, I lost everything, I go, that's awesome. Good. Now we're at the bottom. We can start from here. I get excited. Get excited you hit the bottom because that's when wonder takes over. So go to God, go to God, go to God, go to God. That's my message.
Amen. Yeah. And I had a sermon. It's no longer available. I'll probably redo it and republish it, but it was called Rehoboam's Downfall. And for
Mm,
those to give a little context, it was about he was the son of King Solomon. After King Solomon's passing, he was taking over. The people came to him and said, "Hey, your dad, most prosperous kingdom, but he was a little harsh on us, especially with taxation and work.
right.
Can you lighten our load?" And Rehoboam says, "Let me think about it." And all the wise older council said, "Hey, you should listen to the people. You're a new king." It was pretty harsh. That's the way of success. He goes and
Mm,
asks his young punk friends, "What should you do?" And they said,
right, of
"Yeah,
course.
our father, tell them my father whipped you. I'm going to scourge you with scorpions." And he goes and says, "My little finger is thicker than my forefather's waist." And he has this little power trip, and it led to his downfall. Who he didn't ask was God. That was the first person he should have asked. And in our recent episode with Dan Parr, it was called A Spirit of Discernment. That episode we talked about having a spirit of discernment, navigating false prophets, and talking to God. And I said, my policy that I try to follow in life is if someone comes to me for advice, "Hey, Mr. Whiskey, XYZ is happening. What do I do?" I say, "Well, you got to talk to God first and me second. I should be your second opinion because God knows way more than me and
That's a great
always
message.
will." So I don't, like I said, I struggle. Sometimes people come to me with an issue and
Right.
answers come out
Yeah.
of my mouth.
My
But
God,
I've tried
you're
my
the
best to
best.
put God first.
I
But
would
that's not
say
to
God,
say,
God, recovery, and then everything underneath it. Everything's got to be underneath God and recovery, period. Period.
yeah.
And if it's in front, out, get rid of it, get rid of it, because it'll get rid of you.
Yeah, we call it in that episode we even talked about modern day idolatries. But it's not just these golden calves in the physical form. It's these celebrities. This day and age of celebritization is
Mhm,
huge. And then also just anything can be an idol emotionally and spiritually in your
mhm.
life, right? It could be football, it could be a hobby, it could be a relationship. So I think it's so important
It could
to
be a vape. Have you seen these people that are,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it could be. And
It
so
could be.
I think that's important. And even I have a guest coming on who put the gym before God and had
Mhm.
stuff happen, and I won't share his story now, but yeah, for the sake of time constrictions, unfortunately, we do have to wrap this up. So I think you shared a lot of great things, and we're gonna have your website in the description below for people to check out. Obviously, you still do a lot nowadays, and could you tell us real quick about what kind of the future looks like for you and what you're doing now?
Well, my future is I'm hoping, well, I'm not hoping, it is going to happen. I'm just visualizing it, that my books will be published. And my goal is to just do motivational speaking. I do coach people. I left a very successful career as a script supervisor of 35 years. I worked on over 350 movies, blah, 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 whatever. That's work, and I still act and model, but my forefront is how can I be of service? And I don't know how God's going to do that, but I know it's going to be amazing because when I leave it up to him, it always works out. So I'll leave yeah, I'm available for speaking engagements, for and coaching. And yeah, that's it. That's all I want to do is be of service that way. So I've been given a
And
lot of wisdom. I want to give it away.
yeah, no, I agree 100%. So I really appreciate what you're doing, and I think you're inspirational, and I hope that people took something away. Like I said, we're gonna have your website if people want to connect with you further, check out your social medias, check out your work, and I think people should definitely follow up on that. And I hope you and I have touched some lives today, and if not today, as in the day of recording, maybe 100 years from now, you and I are both passed away, and someone's listening to this, and they're like, wow, I can't believe how things were. And
Yeah,
I think
right. It was
it's
crazy
just
back
crazy. Or they're
then.
going to say nothing's changed, unfortunately. So we'll see. But
Oh,
I
you
really
said the
appreciate
golden calf. It's all keeps rejuvenating. It's all the
it.
same thing
Hmm.
over and over and over. Yeah, just
Yeah.
different forms.
But thank you for your time
All right.
today. I really
God bless
appreciate
you.
it.
I appreciate you allowing me to be of service on your podcast. You're wonderful. Thank you.